Hey, it's Jansco. I am going to be going over how I made the Chuck Sutton beat challenge using only this singular sample right here.
Snare.
And I turned only this sample into this entire track. I'm just going to play a little snippet so you get an idea. I'm going to actually let's play this part right here. So yeah, I only used that sample, and the way I was able to construct all these sounds was by engineering this sound into a different sound. And what's great about sound and working in the digital format is that you can consolidate certain frequencies with a bandpass. So I'm using Melda Suite. It's free. And by the way, Cakewalk I'm using right here is also free because I think that music software should be accessible. And I know there is some paid software I do have, but I like to keep everything free so anyone can do it. All right, the Q value turn all the way up. That's just the slope pretty much of how much you're consolidating of that one sine wave. And this is a graph of all the sine waves that make up this sound. So right now we are subtracting all of the other frequencies except for that one that we're consolidating. And if we just duplicate that a couple of times, we'll have a pretty clean sine wave. It is pretty clean, it's just distorting because it's too loud. There you go. So if you freeze that in Cakewalk, look at that, sine wave. And then from there, you can do stuff to this sine wave to make it sound like stuff. One thing you could do, let me just clear these effects. Oh crap, I did not mean to do that. We're going to convert this to a chain and then delete it. Okay, so then you can take this wave here, and this is constructed from the original snare sample, because remember we started out with this.
Snare.
Now we have a sine wave.
Snare.
Well, let me turn off that. We have the sine wave, now we can turn this into basses and whatnot. Just some ways to do it. You could put this into like Vital or whatever, and I'll actually go over that in a little bit later, because I actually used Vital a little bit more to make these sounds, but I did make quite a few basses with this. You can put some weird effects onto it. You can actually, any snare I made, I use this method. Then you can put a frequency shifter on it, and then you can construct a snare out of it. Oh, the way I made white noise with this method, you can also do this in Vital, and I will be going over that. And Vital is also free, so if you need to cap that, get it. You can use a wave folder, and this is anytime it clips instead of going to the maximum peak and staying there, kind of giving it the square wave effect. It folds back in almost as if there's an absolute value function in the way. So, and that kind of creates like these weird noise effects. So if you do that, you get pretty much clear noise. But as the sound gets quieter, you will start to get that weird glitchy effect. And you can actually, and I did use that weird effect for some nice glitch sounds too. So there you go. That's how you make noise with the sound, and that's how I made all of the noise settings. And with these two methods of generating noise with the wave folder and generating the sine wave with the band passing equalization, you could create a snare, and that's pretty much what I did. I'm not going to be making a snare here because that would take too long, because you also have to incorporate like distortion and compression and whatnot. But I have some up here that I made to give an example. This is my favorite by far, is this one right here. That was 100% using those two methods, or those methods that I just showed you. That is such a clean sound. And that's also how I made the claps too. If you just use some volume automation, you can make claps out of this method. Yeah. All right, so now let's go over the second method, which is using Vital. And this is waveform synthesis. And you can actually play around with this to make it give it also generate a sine wave too, and that's something I did a couple of times. So if you plug this in to a wavetable, while yes, this is a separate synth. See if I can get this to play. Nothing's coming through because there's no sound. Let me actually see if we can get the bass out of this. I have to just get my MIDI controller out. There we go. There's Chuck saying snare.
Snare. Snare.
There we go. There's the original sample. So it's just splitting the sample up into little bits.
Snare. Snare.
But now you can modify the waveform itself. So what I did to create, I would actually just make this noise, the window size smaller, and then you would just change some of these blend modes and phase modes. So just play around with these until you get, there you go, here's your sine wave. Just normalize it. Let me just disconnect that. Got a pretty solid sine wave. And if it's too quiet, you can also use the wave folder that's in here, and this is also a way to generate noise. There you go, sine wave. There you go. I got a sine wave. And now you can copy this into this one and then use it to FM the other one. That's how you can create some nice like slappy type basses or 808 type basses. You can also play with the pitch, but I like to do this method for phase reasons. There you go, we got a nice 808 type bass. Alright, so that is pretty much how it goes, and then you can generate noise. If you want to add like a noise layer, let me remove this, you can use the same wave folder, just turn that all the way up, and do it a couple more times until it kind of creates fractals. You may also want to increase the window size a little bit, just because you want, oh my god, let's go 40, just give it more randomness, and then you can use this. Yeah, you have to, there you go. Sometimes you have to play around with this. It's a little bit finicky at times. So. And then you just distort them together. Get a nice respace. And then if you need a saw wave, you can go back to this, and then I think vocode, one of these phase effects will do it. You also have to find the right spot, of course. Clear, vocode, one of these. I don't remember which one. Turn off normalize. Let's remove this. I think it was clear. Clear usually did it for me. And then there you go. Time blend. My bad. I think any of these blend modes will work, except for file blend. Okay, so now you got a sine wave. And then you can make super sauce. Oh, that's not great. Have installed distortion. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I just play around with that. All right, now let's go into a little bit of just breaking the actual track down a little bit. So I use this method for almost everything here that you see here. I'll go over some of my favorite parts. I actually started this in a different DAW because I have a couple of DAWs I use. And I got like this sound, which is that's a sine wave with the phaser on it. I don't have disperser, so that's as close as I could get to a nice disperser sound. Let's see what other stuff is pretty cool. I liked these these basses right here are pretty cool. That sounds like in context. Oh shit. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool, and then you can kind of hear the original sample in there, and that's using a practically the closest I can get to a resonator, because I can't find any good free ones. So I used way you do that is that you just use the harmonic function on M equalizer, and then just make like a bunch of peaks where the chord, where notes in the chord are. You kind of get that nice resonant-y sound. Another cool sound I really liked, and this is from the original sample as well, is I had to kind of build my own DMB break. That was obviously a processed one. There was a better one. I just reused it. There you go. Yeah, like I constructed each one of the drum samples myself, and then it just kind of built into that. Let's see what else. A lot of build stuff, a lot of reversing. Oh, a fun little thing here. This is called Crunch. I just put a ring mod with like a very bassy note onto a noise layer, and I like use that to layer on top of my rhythmy drums. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Let's see. All right. There's so many just like I find a lot of these basses are not very crazy. Like, it's just the fact that they're all derived from the original snare samples pretty whack. My friend Skybreak has a really nice tutorial on how to make color bass. If you're not even if you're not constrained with using an individual sample, their tutorials up on YouTube. Check out their music. Represent New Jersey artists. Gotta say that. Yeah, thank you for tuning in me blabbing about this. Please check out Chuck Sutton if you already haven't. Really cool, very talented producer, and I'm glad he put us producers up to the challenge of making tracks with this. Thank you.